M. Malpart, okay, so we got so many
Yeah,
names.
don't
No,
worry about going through the list. All right. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us. There are other people who are coming in, so they can join us as they opt in. My name's Joel Chandler, and I really appreciate those of you who joined us today. So this is a very informal discussion, and I'm hoping that it will be a discussion. So please feel free to ask any questions that you've got, and I'll try to answer them as directly and candidly as I can. Um, Jeff Ratkin is an attorney that I work with. He's purely here because he's hosting. He was nice enough to host this on his Zoom account. So, um, again, my name is Joel Chandler, and I have made in the past a number of public records requests to charter schools, and there are some additional public records requests going to be coming. And in an effort to avoid any confusion or misunderstandings, I wanted to offer this opportunity to talk to you directly and for you all to ask any questions you got or make any comments that you have. I'm not an attorney, so I can't give anybody legal advice. But if you have questions about how to respond to public records requests, I can tell you as somebody who's made a lot of requests and from the perspective of a member of the public who makes public records requests, I can tell you what I would hope to get in response to public records requests. Um, so I have been volunteering with an organization called the Poor and Minority Justice Association, PMJA, which is based out of Winter Haven, Florida. I've been volunteering with them since I'm guessing around 2012 or 2013. They work, as the name implies, in poor minority communities, very involved with uh, social justice issues, trying to get people uh, representation when they get caught up in the criminal justice system. Their constituents are largely
mm,
poor African American folks. Um, and who are very often disproportionately caught up in the criminal justice system. And also, they're very interested in public education to the extent that the what's euphemistically referred to as the school to prison pipeline. Um, so the the board of directors of PMJA for years have asked me to help them get public records, and I work purely in a voluntary capacity. They don't pay me anything. Um, and I do a lot of, I've worked on a lot of projects for them over the years. And one of the current projects that the board of directors uh, formally requested me to work on for them pertains to charter schools. And this is going to be sort of an ongoing project. And I'm going to bear with me. I'm going to pull this up and I'm going to read it to you what the corporate resolution was, and then we can kind of talk about what what it is the project involves. So um, the I'll just read the relevant portions of this. So the Poor and Minority Justice Association (PMJ), by and through its board of directors, formally authorizes Joel Chandler, a volunteer member of PMJ, to initiate and lead the following four public interest projects. Each project is designed to promote transparency, protect vulnerable populations, and hold publicly funded institutions accountable. These are multi-year undertakings. PMJ intends to publish every public record received as part of these projects without editorial commentary to ensure public access and verifiability. Joel Chandler is not compensated for this work. His participation is entirely voluntary. He has provided voluntary assistance to PMJ since at least 2013, regularly helping PMJ and members of its community obtain public records from public agencies. So there are four specific projects. I'll mention them. The other ones, they're not really related to charter schools, but they're transparent and I'm transparent. So one of the projects is titled WikiLeo, which is intended to build a database of Florida law enforcement officers uh, in Florida that will allow people to access IA summaries, disciplinary histories of law enforcement officers. The second one is SRO SSO project. So, as you all are very familiar with school resource officers, and then some school districts have their own law enforcement agencies, and those officers are referred to as SSOs, not SROs. And the idea is to essentially do the same thing where we're going to build a database of all school resource officers in Florida so that parents and students and faculty members can see any disciplinary histories they might have. And then the third project I've been working on for 8.5 years now is pertains to public housing. And then the fourth one is the charter school project. So I'll read the description that the board adopted. The purpose, charter schools in Florida are subject to less public oversight, but receive substantial taxpayer funding. Concerns include increased disciplinary referrals, racial resegregation, sunshine law violations, and the improper purpose of for-profit management organizations. The objective is to conduct a multi-year investigation in charter school operations through public records and publish both the records and final reports of findings. And the authorized work, Chandler will issue public records requests to Florida school districts and charter schools for contracts, demographic data, disciplinary records, dues and membership payments, management contracts, and other relevant information. The project will also track patterns of open government violations. So the first request, or the next request that, because some of you, probably all of you, have received some public records requests from me previously. The next request that you'll be receiving, let me pull this up real quick. The exact request is going to be for all current Florida charter contracts to which the school is a party and the most recent annual report filed with the Florida Secretary of State by or on behalf of the school. That's the exact wording of the records that I'm going to be trying to get. So let me open this up to any questions you all have. I'm an open book. You ask, and I'll give you a really direct and honest answer.
How about you describe what it is you're going to be seeking and the best method for responding to it?
Yeah. So uh, yeah, let me back up a little. So I've just described the records that I'll be asking for in this next request that you'll receive. These are not all going to. They're part of the issue that I've had with trying to make requests to charter schools. There are several concerns. One is, and I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. So if you go to the Florida Department of Education, they have a directory of charter schools. Um, there are more than 700 schools that are listed there. Um, I think that's not a particularly accurate directory because it appears to be listing campuses, not actual schools. And the schools are, of course, the corporation that enters into the charter contract. And I have been trying to puzzle this together since 2023. And as near as I can tell, there are actually somewhere in the vicinity of about 350 uh, not-for-profit corporations who've entered into charter contracts with local school districts. So, um, so part of the work on my end is just trying to identify who the schools are. So, as you know, the name on the sign or even the name on the website is not necessarily the actual name of the not-for-profit corporation that has the charter contract. So what we're really trying to do in this next request is to match the charter contracts to the actual corporate records filed with the Florida Secretary of State to be sure we're really identifying the actual entity that we would be making additional requests to. Because we want to make sure we're directing the request to the right party. So that's one issue, and that's the reason we're asking for this really basic uh, set of records, because we just want to make sure that the charter contract matches the Secretary of State or the SumBiz report, so that we really have identified the correct party that we'll be making additional requests to. And I'm happy to talk about those additional requests too, if you want to talk about those. Um, the second issue that I run into, is trying to figure out the exact person to whom to direct the request to. So in 2017, the Florida legislature amended part of the Public Records Act, which is in Chapter 119 of the Florida statutes. And collectively, it's Article 1, Section 24 of the Constitution, which makes access to public records a constitutional civil right. And then the specifics of the mechanics of how it works is laid out in Chapter
Thank you.
118. Was that a question? Okay. If I drone on and you want to interrupt me, please feel free to do that. So Chapter 119, where the Public Records Act is really spelled out how it operates. In 2017, the legislature amended 119.12 to require that requesters, when they're making a request to an agency, I would have to direct my public records request to the custodian of records for that particular agency. And if an agency doesn't respond and a requester has to ask the courts to compel production of the records, before a requester can ask the court to do that, they have to have given the agency 5 days written notice of the request. So it's not enough for me to make my initial request in writing. I also have to give at least 5 days written notice of that request. But that requirement's waived if the agency does not prominently post the contact information for the custodian of records in two places. One, they have to do it they have to post it in their administrative offices, where they routinely accept or receive public records and public records requests. And two, it has to be on the agency website. And as you know, the charter school statute requires all charter schools to have a website. So before I make a request to an agency, and I'm really consistent about doing this every time before I make a request, I try to find the agency website and I search the homepage to see if they have posted the custodial contact information. And I can tell you that very, very few agencies do that. It's really surprising to me how few do that. Now, the law doesn't require that you do it, but if you don't do it, if the agency doesn't do it, then a member of the public who's trying to get records, they don't really know who to make the request to, so they can make it to anybody they want. Now, what I do with charter schools, because they are corporations, if they don't post the custodial contact information, I will direct my request to the registered agent of the corporation. So this next set of requests that'll be going out tomorrow are going to be sent by FedEx, because one, I want to be sure that it gets delivered. I want to make sure that the agency knows that I have made the request. They know what records I'm asking for. I want to know that they got it. And if the charter school has posted the custodial contact information, that's who the FedEx is addressed to. If they don't, and most don't, the request is addressed to the registered agent. When I send out that FedEx, and not all 350 or however many charter schools I think I've identified are getting the FedEx tomorrow. I'm going to send out like 25 tomorrow, and then I don't know, a week or two later, I'll probably send out another 25. So I'll do them probably in batches of 25 to 50 at a time. So don't worry if you don't get a FedEx in the next few days. And I'm just going through alphabetically. So in that FedEx, there will be a written public records request for any active charter contracts that the school has or that the corporation has. And some have more than one because there are some charter schools that operate in more than one school district. So I'll ask for any charter contracts, and then it will also ask for the most recent report filed through the SunBiz portal with the Secretary of State's office. I've also included, in fact, just before our call, I was copying these. Everybody's going to get a thumb drive, and on that thumb drive, there are several really useful things. One is there's a digital, there's a PDF of the Florida Attorney General's Government of the Sunshine Manual, the 2025 edition. It's a searchable PDF. The Sunshine Manual is without a doubt the most authoritative resource available on how to understand what your obligations are as an agency as it pertains to the Public Records Act and also the Sunshine Law. And I apologize if this is pedantic. I just want to be sure I'm
Ugh,
covering it.
you're
So the,
so pedantic.
I'm
What,
sorry.
what, Michelle? Okay. She just muted herself. I don't know that we were supposed to hear that.
Okay. So the Sunshine Manual, the Sunshine Law pertains to open meetings, and the Public Records Act pertains to public records, and the Sunshine Manual covers both. So I've included on the thumb drive a digital copy. You can also go to the Florida Attorney General's website and download your own copy if you want. In addition to that, there are probably 40 or 50 podcast episodes that I've published. You can see those on YouTube, or you can access them on the thumb drive. There are 20, I think 20 episodes that do a deep dive into the Sunshine Manual. When I go through every year, I review the Sunshine Manual for my own purposes, my own use. And this year I did it doing podcasts so I could listen to it when I'm doing other things. And I just decided I would publish those. So you're welcome to use those. In addition, excuse me, there are 14 or 15 other episodes that go into detail about examples of why open government matters. And then there are also some podcast episodes that talk about practical issues like how to respond to a public urge request, how somebody can make a public urge request, that sort of thing. So, are there any questions so far? So please feel free to ask away. I'll tell you anything you ask me.
Yeah, this is Curtis Peterson. What's the purpose of this? Are you just letting us know what request you're getting ready to ask for, or did I get on too soon?
No, 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 not at all. No, the purpose of the meeting today is just to talk about uh, a public records request that's going to start going out tomorrow. And as I said, I'm not going to send their 350 or so charter schools that I think I've identified. I'm not sending out 350 FedExes tomorrow. I can't afford to do that. I'm sending out 25 tomorrow, and I'll probably send out another in batches of 25 to 50. So this is going to take probably a few weeks for everybody to get this particular request. But this first request is just asking for the charter contract, charter contracts that the corporation has, and the matching the most recent SunBiz report or SOS report that's filed with the Secretary of State. And so I'm just this particular request is the first or one in a series of requests that you'll be getting. That's part of the project that I'm working on for the Poor and Minority Justice Association. So I want to make myself available to answer any questions about if you're not sure about what the records would be or how to respond or what I'm hoping or expecting to get from you. Or if you want to just ask questions more generally about responding to public records requests. Again, I can't give legal advice because I'm not an attorney, but I make a lot of public records requests, and I've been doing this for 18 years. So at least from the perspective of a layperson member of the public, I uh, can probably give you some meaningful feedback on that.
Joel, Ann Hodges with Kinder Club School, so she doesn't have camera or speaking access, but she's asking She's questioning, are you asking for all charter contracts or just the charter contract with the local school board?
Yeah, I'm asking for any. Yeah, so uh, the request is being made to the corporation that I think I've identified as the charter school. So XYZ Incorporated has a charter contract with the Hillsborough County School District. I'm asking for any active charter contract that you've got, not old contracts, but active charter contracts. And um, and the reason I'm asking for most of the schools are going to have one, but there are some charter schools or corporations that are operating in more than one county, so they would have more than one charter contract. They'd have one with each school district in which they're operating.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
All right. Hi, my name is Raymond Brown. I'm the Director of Operations for Seaside Charter School. We've already you did a records request with us last year. So if we've already, and I've already provided you our charter contract last time. So are you going to be requesting the same data yet again, or
It,
what is it?
yeah, yes, if these seem duplicative, they're not intended to be. So, because again, there are charter schools that are closing and charter schools that are opening every year. So, what I'm trying to get is a baseline as of 2025, what charter contracts actually are active and which corporations or which entities are actually engaged a party to that contract. So yeah, even if you've gotten a similar or you might even feel like an identical request previously, treat this as a new request. So and this actually ought to be a pretty simple request to respond to because there's nothing to review or redact. It's a SumBiz report and it's your any active charter contract and that's it. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I got it. All right.
Okay.
So
All right.
treat it like a new request, and
Yes, sir.
it's even though we just did it with you last time. Okay, got you.
Correct. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yeah. And again,
Right.
I'm not trying to create extra work for everybody. It's just that since this particular project is a new project for PMJA, they and I are just trying to get a baseline of, okay, who are the actual charter schools that exist today? Because there have actually been several that I've made requests to in the last year that don't exist anymore, and there are also some new ones.
And who's PMJ? You say?
PMJA is the Poor and Minority Justice Association. They're based out of Winter Haven, um, and they work, as the name implies, in poor and minority communities. Their constituents are primarily economically challenged African American folks. And I've been volunteering with them since 2013. And this is one of several projects that they've asked me to help them get records for.
I have a question with PMJ. I'm looking at the only thing I found online through a Google search, but I didn't see a list of board members. Am I not looking at the right website? Because you did mention that the board asked for this project.
Yes, I'm not sure which website you're looking at, but if you were to go to if you go to sumbiz.org, the Secretary of State's corporation's website, you can actually search by entity name, and it'll pull up uh, the corporate registration for the Poor and Minority Justice Association, and it'll list all of the board members. The head of the organization is a man named Clayton Coward. He's and all I think there are four board members are all African American ministers.
All right, okay, I will continue searching, but nothing comes up with Poor Minority Justice Association. I only can find a WordPress.
Look in Sunbiz, the Florida Department of State Division of
Yeah.
Corporations, and do
Mhm.
a search for the corporation there.
Hey
Okay.
Jeff, you're better at navigating Zoom than I am. Would you mind pulling up and sharing
Yep.
their SunBiz report? That might be
Yep.
helpful.
Yep. Give me just a second.
Okay.
Uh, my last question. So that's it. Is that pretty much the stand of this, that you're going to be sending out a new request, and that just to respond to the new request once it comes out? Yes.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
Okay.
yes, sir. And in my request, I'm asking that you email because obviously the documents are available electronically. I'm just asking that you email them to me to make it easy for you and for me.
Can everybody
All
see my
right.
screen?
Yes.
Yeah, I can see it, Jeff. It looks,
Okay.
yeah. So while Jeff's pulling this up, does anybody else have any other questions, either about this particular request or future requests or the project generally or public records generally? I'm happy to answer any questions.
So you guys saw what I did. I'm on the Department of State Division of Corporations site, and you could run it. I'll back it up so you can see where I went. So you just type in. I even typed it wrong. I wrote Sunbaz, but you type in Sunbiz, and that's the first one that comes up. Or you can type in Division of Corporations, State of Florida. This is the website, and then you just do search records, and it'll give you this site, and you go to name. And under entity, you can find information on any corporation registered in the state of Florida this way. So here, if you look for me,
Jeff, just do
okay,
PMJA.
any
So,
corporation will show up here.
and by the way, I'm glad we're doing this part of it. To make it real easy, if when you respond to my request, um, remember there are two parts of it. The one is I'm asking for active charter contracts, and the second I'm asking for the annual report that was filed with SunBiz. If you want to go to your corporation, your school's SunBiz report and copy the link and and give me the link as a response to that part of the request, that's perfectly fine. That's I'll call that good. I just what I'm trying to do is to make sure that the name on the charter contract I can match it to the actual corporation. And the reason that I'm being so particular about that is not all the charter contracts actually list the name of the corporation. The names are off sometimes. So I'm just trying to make sure that this party to the charter contract really is this entity. So if you want to just send me the charter contract as a PDF, that'd be great. And if you can either download your own SunBiz report and send that as a PDF, or just send me a link directly to your report, not a link to the SunBiz search portal, but to the search results. That would be perfectly fine. Other questions? You all have in my invitation that I sent out my contact information. And of course, my contact information will be included in the public urge request. I'm happy to talk to you if you have any questions, or if there's some confusion or some uncertainty about what I'm asking for. Please, please, please feel free to reach out to me either by phone or by email. Um, if you have questions about how to respond to future requests that I send you, you can ask. Again, I can't give you legal advice. I can tell you, as somebody that makes a lot of requests, how I think an agency should be responding to other public urge requests made by other people. The one thing that I would really urge everyone to do is to post the contact information for the custodian of records on the homepage. There are a few agencies that post it, a very few charter schools post it on the homepage. There are some that have links on their homepage to subpages that may have some contact information. And again, I'm not trying to make a legal argument here. I don't think that meets the requirement of the statute because it says it has to be prominently posted. But as a practical matter, when that custodial contact information is on a subpage that you have to navigate to, I work a lot in poor minority communities. For most of those people, the only internet access they have is a cell phone, and it's very difficult to navigate to find that information if it's not on the home page. So the 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 word record should be on your homepage 3 times. So one should be the custodial contact information, the contact information for the custodial records, the name of the person, their physical address, so that somebody can either go in person to inspect the records or where they can send mail. And there should be a phone number and there should be an email address. That's my opinion. The other 2 times that the word record should show up, the 668, 6076 of the Florida statutes requires every public agency who maintains a website has to post a warning on the bottom of the page. That's, I'm paraphrasing, it says essentially, email addresses are public record. If you don't want your email released in response to a public records request, do not send us an email. That is required by law to be on the homepage. And I would guess out of 350 charter schools, there probably aren't 3 that actually have that on their homepage. That's supposed to be there. So what I do when I'm getting ready to send a request is I go to the agency's website, I do a keyword search for the word record, and if it doesn't show up there, the custodial contact information is not available. Now, I do a site search, a Google site search, which does a deep dive into your any website. You type in the word SITE colon and then the URL / and then put in parentheses whatever keywords you're searching for. Now, I do that, and the keywords I'm searching for are public record, and I can tell you that very, very few agencies post any custodial contact information anywhere on the website. And I think that makes it really hard for people to ask for records. And it, frankly, you surrender what I think is an enormously effective defense in the event that you get in a dispute about producing public records. Because if you don't post that, you waive that defense. The written notice requirement's gone. The requirement that the requester make their request to the custodian of records, that's gone. Another issue that I have run into recently is there, and I'm not making this up, this sounds unbelievable, but it's true. There are a number of charter schools that post contact email addresses that are either unmonitored, they never look at the emails. I had one charter school where they claimed that there were 249,000 unread email messages, and that was their excuse for not seeing my public records request, which I subsequently sent by certified mail and by fax, etc. There's another charter school that I've been dealing with that they claim that they can't access the email address and that they haven't been able to access the email messages in that address for more than 2 years. But that email address is literally in the header of their web page. I mean, it's the first thing you see, and it's to an email address that is unmonitored. They have no intention of ever reading any of the emails that ever go there. So if you have an email address that you're asking people to send requests to, please, please, please be sure that is a monitored email address. You actually look at it. Are there any other questions? I appreciate everybody being here. And again, if you have any questions you want to talk about offline, feel free to give me a call or send me an email. And I look forward to hearing from anybody who's got questions. And if that changes in the future and you think of something later, feel free to reach out. Anything else? Jeff, is there anything else we need to cover?
Sounds good to me. Thank
All
you.
right. Thanks, folks. Appreciate everybody being here.